Iko Nini. So kuna hii rumor imekuwa ikigo round, na hii rumor ilikuwa one of those the first time nilisikia nilibaki nimedismiss, na even till now I'm still dismissing it because it makes no sense. And mse moja ule alibaki ameishia ni Dr. Miguna Miguna. So Miguna aliandika, tyrant has pardoned a cold-blooded murderer because he, Ruto, is a cold-blooded murderer. He murdered an innocent woman and stole her money. Yeah, tunajua vile Miguna ubonga. Then akaendelea, freedom fighters don't let muuaji Jowie Irungu walk freely anywhere in Kenya. Alafu yes, akaendelea hivyo, and vile nilicheki kani remind like during the protests kuna time wasali kwa nasema that walikuwa wamespot Jowie on the streets of Nairobi. So that was also another story that Jowie alikuwa released from hii place inaitwa nini, alikuwa released from committee, alafu after kuwa released from committee akabaki amekuwa unleashed on the protesters during the Gen Z protests, and this was also dismissed as rumors. And ikikam to hii story ya saa hizi, like one of the reasons why I feel like it makes no sense is Ruto tayari yuko so unpopular that to add this guy to his already unpopular resume, sioni kama nizabaki amedu hivyo. So palikuwa nafaa kutumia CV bila nimesema, pia nimejua imetokea kisound vibaya sana, poleni wasa wako US izeni jo. So wacha to go back to the origins of this story. So kulikuwa na hii, ilikuwa ni exercise of prerogative of mercy and pardon. Then ikaendelea, it's notified that His Excellency the President, in accordance with the recommendations of the power of mercy, POMAC, has exercised the prerogative power of mercy conferred upon the head of state and government under Article 133. Then ikaendelea, in exercising this presidential authority that breathes life into the principles of rehabilitation and restorative justice, His Excellency the President has extended the hand of clemency to 56 Kenyan citizens and one foreign national, all of whom were serving long-term jail sentences in various prisons in our country. So the fact that it's long-term jail sentences, this is the reason why people started thinking about Jowie. Then ikaendelea, the presidential acts of mercy was extended as follows. Conditional release was granted to 31 petitioners serving life sentences. Then conditional release and repatriation was granted to one foreign citizen, a citizen of an East African community. So tunajua ni mtu wa TZ, Uganda, serving life sentence. Remission and release was granted to 25 individuals, allowing for their discharge upon remission of their unexpired portion of their custodial sentences. And then ikaendelea, the head of state has extended general amnesty to all petty offenders sentenced to 6 months or less, and offenders serving sentences longer than 6 months whose remaining terms are now 6 months or less. Then ikamaliziwa, to strengthen the arc of justice, the head of state and government has urged all stakeholders within the criminal justice system to explore ways in which the principles of reconciliation, restoration, rehabilitation and reintegration into the community can be more effectively expressed and implemented. The full particulars of the presidential pardon will be published in this week's issue of the Kenya Gazette. So let's go back to Jowie. The reason why na feel kama hii story hizi kwa Jowie ni the fact that Jowie was not jailed for life. Jowie alibaki amepatiwa ile sentence ya kunyongwa. Najua of course Kenya hatufanyagi hivyo, kunaga executions in Kenya, but as much as that translates into a life sentence, the fact remains that hakupatiwa a life sentence, so hawezi kuwa released because that's not what he was given. Plus also, even when you think about the Jowie case, of course kuna watu fikiriaga juu the fact that Maribe alipatikana akiwa innocent ama not guilty. That's what I tutumie the legal term, which is not guilty. If Jowie is released, this brings Maribe back to kwa spotlight. Maribe tunajuaga to a certain level anakuaga at least close na umse wa gava anaitwa Itumbi. I don't think the government needs that attention. So hii ndio ile come to ile story ya a few things that Miguna has said that I find interesting. Like Miguna pia this week alibaki ametweet. I think this week alibaki amerishare ile tweet yake ya kitambo ile alikuwa amesema that 400 Kenyans walidedishwa Githurai. And I remember when this story was happening, pia around this time nakumbuka kuna watu kadhaa walisema that nilikuwa paid cause nilisema ni very hard to hide 400 bodies because out of these 400 bodies there is going to be close to 400 families. Silencing 400 families so that iende chini ya maji hivyo ni really hard. So yes, kulikuwa na murders zile happen Githurai, yes. Were the numbers exaggerated? Yes, the numbers were exaggerated. That does not help the cause. When we do that, when we exaggerate numbers, ICD, even one death that inaweza kuwa avoided should be avoided. So si lazima tusemage ni msee mmoja tu alidedi, that doesn't matter. Even that one person matters a lot. So hakuna haja kuinflate the numbers so that we Kenyans can feel like a wrong was done. I think hiyo ndio mistake waga tunamekigi. But so yeah, Jowie, I think bado Jowie iko ndani. I don't know his zile measures anatake kutry kugain freedom yake, but Jowie pia nakuaga another lesson in how people forget so fast. I remember that ile time Jowie alikuwa found guilty, ilikuwa na Justice Grace Nzioka, kuna watu walitokea na akaanza kupatiana kulikuwa na a whole conspiracy theory of how he had been framed, and a few people are outraged, and I thought that this outrage would last for some time, then watu wakakuja tu wakasahau. That's how fast people forget about you, and now people have moved on with their lives. And yes, so his story may come up. And who do I think needs to be pardoned? Because come to easy life sentences, I'd want to know the sort of people that have been pardoned come to easy life sentences. Because do we want also to be watu ndio upate mtu alikuwa amesema utaishi jela for life? Lazima ulikuwa umefanya kitu kingine ya ajabu kabisa. Kuna watu wanafaa kuwa pardoned according to mimi ni wale watu maybe walikuwa wamefungwa specific number of years. Ya watu wanasema that walikuwa wamebakisha, wengine wamebakisha 6 months. Yes, that makes sense. Maybe msali patwa a certain period of time. Kuna kwa na watu pata msali ibakuku akabaki amejeliwa for 15 years. Makes zero sense. A chicken alafu we have to feed you for the next 15 years makes zero sense. And for someone like me who always looks at Nairobi, and I look at Nairobi and I say Nairobi is such a in quotes dirty city that needs to be cleaner. Kuna vitu mob zile hatuoshagi zile zinafaa kuoshwa. Barabara uoshwa, lami haifai kuwa brown. Hizi raya ziliiba kuku ni kuziweka kwa kazi zioshe lami, inaitwa community service. Wanakaa wanaosha pale. Like Nairobi inakuwa tu ni safi, magari itaoshwa less, tuta conserve more water, like I don't know, but I feel like hakuna haja ku jail mse ameiba kuku for 15 years. And that's the ridiculous things zilo happen in the Kenya judicial system, where you have real criminals who, like the corrupt politicians, these are real criminals and they never face the consequences. Yes, because even talking of real criminals, like another very interesting story line ni cheki ni kulikuwa na hii video iko na go round, na hii video ilikuwa juu ya Mkenya fulani ule alinunua apartments worth 10,000 dirham, which is around 350 million shillings or approximately $3 million masai za Dubai. And I remember seeing this story and people started having theories on who they thought it was. Kuna wasa walisema ni El Chapo, kuna shindo El Chapo ni nani? The president. Alafu the other people who didn't say the president, like the top 2 suspects were number 1, the president, number 2, the governor wa Nairobi. And after we said this, we just went back to our lives like it's normal. It's normal to suspect the highest office in the country for corruption. And it's also normal to suspect the highest governorship in the country for corruption. And we just go back to normal. And this is the reason why muja migina mafala kaki na atuoli wakikama hapa kutuambia tuna need to regulate social media. Because the fact that we come to normalize corruption, like corruption causes so much damage that the fact that we treat it less than, like umsel wanabonga jua control social media. Tukikompare na China hawachekagi na corruption. Like corruption cause state officials. Saizi as we talk, Atuoli amekuwa nominated for a 6th term. Najua anafaa kurun for a 6th term or something. I don't even know hizo stories za court pale zimefika. But yes, let's go back to hizi apartments. So hizi apartments, the two main suspects, the president and the governor of Nairobi, they might be innocent, but the fact that they've been mentioned shows you how much we think of the presidency. That the first time that we hear a corruption case, we think of the president. And if you're not thinking about the president, the next person tunafikiria ni the governor of Nairobi. What does this say about us as a society? Because in other societies, just being associated with corruption would mean that you would never hold any public office. And as we continue to call ourselves the next Singapore, the next China, the next what, lazima tujiulize, do you think this level of, like Jinping waga iko mentioned kwa a corruption scandal? No, he's not. I don't know if akina Beijing ziko na governors, akina Guangzhou, hizo Guangzhou, do you think they ama ni Guangzhou? Okay, izeni jo, I keep brain yangu inashinda ikinipatia all sorts of pronunciations. Do you think that hawa watu wanakuwaga associated na corruption ama wanakuwaga mentioned in corruption cases? The fact that we've normalized this is a reason to be very afraid. And the fact that even when the president is mentioned in a corruption case, he does not even feel the need to respond, also goes to show the sort of society that we live in. Iko Nini.